All right, welcome back to another episode of Unpacking Life. I keep wanting to say unboxing, unpacking life. This topic came up because some friends of ours asked us to dinner to sit down and like talk about what we invest in and how we invest and everything surrounding that. I had posted on Instagram like that we don't save for our kids' college, which we'll get into. And we've talked to our financial advisor about this, so don't like come for us in the comments.
Nah, come for us, it's fine.
We're pro them figuring out what they want to do, as long as it's something like productive and something that will get them somewhere. And I think sometimes college is not a part of that. Like,
Yeah.
I have a degree, you have a degree, like yours helped you, mine was a waste.
But we've prepped our kids, try to teach them about the value of the dollar, so they get an allowance as long as they do their chores and their work, and they can really buy whatever they want with their money. I think Dion's been pretty good, but Aubrey's been like kind of adding up all her money and saying, okay, if I can buy this, then I'm only gonna have $80, and then so she won't buy it or she'll hold off.
Yeah.
So they're really good about learning how to invest at a really early age, even if it's just a few bucks, into stuff that they want, and sometimes they don't want to buy stuff because it's gonna cost them money.
Yeah, they each have a bank account, and they'll, we monitor it, and they have a debit card. But I think and we'll get to the investing part in a second, but so our oldest just turned 14, right? 13 to 14. Sorry, mom brain. We'd have age appropriate money talks. So like he's getting older, so I talk to him a lot about it. Like when I get home, or like if there's an example at work, I tell him about it. Like, hey, this person, they couldn't do this because they didn't save their money and they spent it on all this crap.
Yeah.
So he's like becoming a lot more aware of it. So he knows I budget for everything, and he asked me, he said, how much are you budgeting for my birthday? And I told him how much it was, and he said, well, how about I just have my friends over and we go to like a nice dinner, and then you just transfer me the rest of the money that you would,
Use for his birthday.
Use for my birthday, and then you can take me and my friends to the mall and go shopping. Now, of course, it was torn a little bit because I want them to have memories. Like, money isn't everything. I think memories and like freedom is our number one goal, and hopefully that's theirs, because I don't want them to be owned by like a 9-to-5. But so he kind of knew that, so that's why he's like, you could take us to the mall. So they had a good time there. We took him out for dinner with friends, but then he took his money, and I was gonna buy him more clothes for his birthday because he grows like a weed. Like, he's taller than Ricky, he's taller than me for sure. So I transferred him the money, and then instead of buying him the clothes, he bought the clothes. And boy, let me tell you, I should have did this like 5 years ago, because he has come home from school every day. He bought a pair of white Air Maxes.
All white.
And he comes home from school every day and cleans them and puts them back out. When he has a hoodie, he got a matching white Nike hoodie. And he got like a pizza stain on it, and he was almost in tears. He's like, Mom, can you get this out? And I'm like, of course, I'm a mom. Of course I can get a stain out. But like, he takes such better care of his things.
Because it's his money
because
going
it's
to waste.
his money, and he bought it. And he sees his bank account like, okay, I spent all this money, and now, I don't have that much. So he's like babying his clothes, babying his shoes. We buy him something, it's like torn up, has holes in it, stains, pen markers. And he was even saying that his feet were hurting because he didn't want to crease the shoe.
Can't crease the new shoes.
So he like wasn't stepping all the way. I said, oh, what have we done? So we don't save for their college. A lot of the college savings funds that you do through like investment accounts are very restrictive, to where if it's an actual college savings fund, you have to use it for that. And we've just never believed in that. Like, what if they want to pick up a trade, not necessarily go to college, or if they want to join the military and they don't need that. So we've always like saved in other parts. And then a few years ago, when the mortgage rates were low, the savings rates were low. So like any money that we had saved, it was just sitting there not accumulating anything. So we started buying properties, and now we invested the money in an appreciating asset. Someone is paying the rent. So there, we took debt from the bank, and the tenant is now paying off the mortgage. They're paying our debt in an asset that is worth more money in the long run. Of course, there's years where it's not worth as much, but we have kind of a long-term strategy. So, you know, we might have bought something now for this amount, and then in, I don't know, 10, 15, 20 years, it might be double. So
we didn't buy it to like flip it or anything. Like we planned on keeping it for, you know, 10, 15, 20 years.
At the very least. Yeah.
And so it's not like we're not trying to make a quick buck off of it. The money and the equity is always there if we need it in case of an emergency or something goes south with the house. Then, you know, we can always use that money that's invested in the house. So it's not like we lost it completely. And it's not like we're, you know, getting rich off of it anytime soon.
No.
So it's a long-term investment, long-term goals, and we kind of had the kids in mind with that as well, where, you know, if they decide to grow up and they decide to go to college and that's the route that they want to go, then we can always pull from that house or whatever house has, you know, some decent equity and kind of pull out to use it for that.
Or use, you know, the rent payments. So the extra that we're getting, we're not touching. So it like accumulates in an account, which we invest in places where we can easily pull from. So mainly it's for like if something breaks down or whatever, but we're not like taking that as a profit. We just leave it in that account. And there's so many different ways that you could do this. I mean, you could, like he was saying, we're not trying to get rich off of it. Could you get rich off of it? Sure. There's several strategies that you could, you know, I have investors that have different goals and they are way more aggressive than we are, and they have way more risk tolerance. So, you know, we're able to sit down and help them with a way to like, okay, this is what you have, this is where we can get you. You know, in some cities or states where you can do Airbnb, I mean, you're making triple, 4 times, 5 times the money. In Colorado Springs, the Airbnb, it's not really illegal, but it's very hard now because they've really cracked down on it. So it's just not worth it to us. There's so many avenues that you can do that. So, you know, right now we have a house for each child. The plan would be that it would stay in our family forever, and then when it, you know, once we pass away, it would go to them, and in the trust it would say, like, you actually have to keep this house as a rental property for X amount of years so that they can experience what it's like to be a landlord and to have passive income and not just sell it and make a quick buck, so that hopefully they will learn, you know, what passive income is, how you can use real estate, and then, you know, after that 2-year limit, they can do with it what they want. We do the rental, long-term renting. You could do the short-term rentals like Airbnb and VRBO. You can invest in like crowdfunding. So when they build these big complexes or big real estate projects, they ask for investors, and you can contribute a certain amount for this much, you know, return of the share. So then you get a return from that, which is not as easy to get into as some make it sound like. And then there's, you know, mutual funds and other investment funds where, you know, the company buys the real estate for you, and then you get a share of that. So
do your research. You know, we're not like professionals in investing. We're just speaking from personal experience. And, you know, stuff that we've learned by doing our research and looking for the properties, the area, tenants. There's a lot that goes into it. It's not as easy as just buying a house and then you're going to get a return. So do your studying, do your work. If you ever want to use us to buy that house, we can always give you that advice.
Correct.
And even if you don't, I mean, we're always here. We're just a wealth of knowledge for a lot of real estate needs. But do your research. Look at houses. Look at houses in that area that are already going for rent. See what you could possibly get for rent if there's one that's similar to the house that you're looking at or interested in, and see if it's going to be worth it. Right now with the investor rates,
interest rates.
Interest rates. They're pretty high, so, you know, you might not get as big of a return as if you were to get something, cheaper. And then in the area, what kind of tenants are you going to be able to put in the house? How long are you going to be able to put them in the house? So there's a lot of different factors. So just make sure you do your research. If you guys have any questions, leave them in the comments. We'll be more than happy to answer them.
And like I told our friends, like, you have to be prepared for that commitment. So whatever route you choose, be prepared for the work that is going to go into it. Like for us, we had a rental property in Texas, and we were younger and we were broke, and we were not prepared to be landlords. So when like something broke in the house, it would cause a domino effect in our household. So like, obviously we're later in life and became more established and really thought things through and saved up, and we were prepared. If something were to go wrong, if someone were not to pay the rent, you have to be prepared for that. If you don't want to be prepared, that's fine. If you can take on a high risk, but then the outcome of it could also be bad. So like you said, we're happy to give any advice. Obviously, we're real estate agents. We work with a lot of investors. Our strategy is not going to work for everyone, but there's so many that we would, could talk to you guys about, or you could talk to whoever's in your area that's a real estate professional or an investor, just someone that's done it and has experience. I think with social media, there's a lot more investors or like information being spread.
Yeah, but
so like more people want to get into it, but most people are just like, well, do this. And then, buy this house for $80,000 and then put a renter in there for $2,000 a month. But nobody really tells you that to get those properties is not as easy. Like sometimes you have to be in touch with like a lot of people and wholesalers to get the house for basically 50% off. So
they don't tell you have to put in $100,000 to get it all restored and fixed and
so
suitable for a $2,000 rent. There's a lot that goes into it. Just make sure you don't try to do it by yourself if you're not well versed in it. Find a real estate agent that knows the area, knows about investing, knows about investor loans.
Is gonna give it to you straight and tell you if it's a bad idea.
Because a lot of real estate agents love to get the sale, but just find one that's good, that you're comfortable with. Ask all your stupid questions that you think are stupid, and they're really not, because we asked all those same questions, and luckily we had some good mentors that helped us, and Google was our best friend for a long time. And just trying to find all the information that we could before we dedicated that much of an investment and risk. And it's worked out well for us. The other thing is, if you're a couple, we told our friends this too, make sure you're both on board. If I think it's a great idea and Vanessa's not comfortable with it, I don't want to do it. So worst case scenario, something goes south and then she's like, I told you I didn't want to do it. So don't point fingers at each other. And like us, every investment property, we've always been 100% on board with it and both comfortable with the decision. We had one out east that we were going to do, and
I had a bad gut feeling.
I felt good about it at first, and then after a little while, Vanessa started doubting it, and then I started doubting it, so we just pulled out. So, and there's always going to be something. You'll find another house. It's not end all be all if you pull out from a deal. So just keep that in mind as well.
And then there's one other part that I guess an easy way to get into investing would be to kind of what they call house hacking, to where if you're comfortable, if you don't have a family and you don't mind moving around, you can actually get into houses with a low down payment, like 3%, 5%, or 0% with the VA, and live in the homes, depends on the loan type, but for a smaller amount of years, like a year or two, move out of it, convert that house into a rental, and then rinse and repeat. So you don't need, 20% down, 25% down. You don't need a huge amount of money to get started in investing. I mean, there's several people that have started just small and just doing that house hacking and getting into it that way. But there's several ways that you can get into it. I mean, probably hundreds, really, if you went down into the details and how the specific situation plays out. But just start making a plan, and then consult your friends, consult other investors, other professionals, and slowly work at it, and you can get there.
Just do your research. That's, I think, my main goal. I know I keep saying it. So just be comfortable with your decision. And again, we're here if anybody has any questions, and feel free to comment. Like this video, subscribe, and share. And we appreciate y'all watching, and we'll see you next time.